Hello and welcome to my review of the Legiones Astartes Spartan assault tank for Warhammer the Horus Heresy and Warhammer 40,000. One of these tanks will cost you £67.50 and consists of a massive 213 plastic components. It's armed with two sponson mounted las cannon arrays, as well as a twin linked hull mounted weapon, either a heavy bolter, heavy flamer or las cannon. And the kit includes components to upgrade the Spartan with a pintle mounted weapon, such as a havoc launcher, heavy bolter, heavy flamer, multi-melter or a combi weapon in 5 different configurations, as well as a searchlight, hunter killer missile and other cosmetic options. They say it includes a dozer blade, but the only Land Raider I've seen with a dozer blade is the Proteus Explorator. You also get a Legiones Astartes vehicle transfer sheet containing 44 optional markings. Although if you wanted to customise it further, it's probably worth picking up your Legion specific transfer sheet from the web store. I think they're about £17 each. The format of this video is as usual. I'll have a detailed look at the miniature, talk about how it was to build and the options and what you can do with it. Then I will go through the spare parts. Next I will go through an exhaustive list of size comparisons, including a Mastodon and the Resin Spartan, as well as a Fellblade, Kratos, Rhino, things like that, and Dreadnoughts and stuff. Then finally I will go through all of the rules for the Horus Heresy. First thing I want to do before I look at the model up close is just talk about that price. I was expecting £75 because that's how much the Kratos is. The Kratos is £75. So for them to bring it out at £67.50, and remember you can get that discount as well from a third party, so you're looking at probably about £52 or so for it, is an absolute bargain. Comparing it to, say, like the Land Raider Redeemer, which is £65. This is £2.50 more. When we're comparing this brand new CAD design kit to a kit that's been out for 20 years that has easily made its money to pay for that injection mould all those years ago. And other than the point side of things and the weapons that the Redeemer has, I can't see a reason why you'd go for that other than this. Other than you probably like the look of like the other older Land Raiders, you know, the Proteuses and things. So now let's have a look at the miniature, I say, up close and personal. So as you can probably tell, it's quite a large tank. If you've had a Land Raider before, this is going to be a fair bit bigger, and it may well be one of the biggest vehicles you've ever had if you've never had anything in resin. It took me quite a while to put together, but then again I do talk in my live streams and things, so I think I did it in 2.5 live streams, which is about 7 hours or so, 7 or 8 hours, which is, you know, a long time, but it's got 200 parts, and the biggest kind of strain that you'll have is getting rid of the mold lines on all of these tracks. The one thing I will say, like I kept saying in the Sakaran live stream build, is the Sakaran for this side panel with the tracks in plastic, it was about 19 parts. In resin from Forge World, it's one piece. So although this is far cheaper in plastic than the resin counterpart, which I think they were selling for £130 before they took it off the store, it's going to cost you more in time. Time is finite. It's the most valuable resource we have while we're here, and it's really up to you whether you think that's worth it. It's going to take you a fair bit longer to build one of these than in resin, probably 3 to 4 times the amount of time, and although it is a kind of kinder material to sort of work with, you don't have to wash it, scrub it and deal with slippage and things, but of course with plastic you're going to have to deal with the mold lines and the bits off the sprue. But I just wanted to make that point first of all. The main issue you'll have is just with the tracks. It went together pretty well. There are joins there, which I'm going to have to go back with some green stuff and file away. It's just the nature of the tank. They can't make this one piece as, you know, one piece. They have to do it in sections. It's a shame that Forge World took away the resin Rhino doors for Legion specific, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are buying the Deimos Rhino pattern doors from Forge World at the moment, because they seem to be going out of stock now and again. So it's a shame that they took away those. You're going to have to get the transfers, or, you know, either put Sons of Horus icon, or the Loyalist icon, or the Aquila icon, or just leave it blank and put a transfer on. Everything else went together quite well. You've got to be careful with these turrets. You've got to be careful with the hull mounted turret there, you know, when you're first putting the last cannons in, or the heavy bolters. The assault ramp is different. What's different than the Proteus, I say, in that they've gone for a tight fit, which means the doors can kind of stay open or closed, whichever kind of position you go for, which is different to the resin kit, and also the older plastic Land Raider kit, where the plastic Land Raider kit had a nice feature where you open the bottom and it had a mechanism that opened the top at the same time, which is really quite cool. This one doesn't have that, they just stay in place. Also, you can't see the detail all the way to the back of the Spartan, which is up to you whether, you know, you think that's bad or not. I do think this assault ramp here is pretty narrow, only the size of like one Space Marine running through, which is odd. I would have liked to have seen 2 Space Marines be able to run side by side out of this, because definitely this panel here gives that impression. But coming out single file, yeah, that can lead to bunch ups, I guess, you know, considering it's an assault vehicle. But there are some details in there for the tank. The pintle mounted weapon options are brilliant. You know, this kit came with the vehicle accessory upgrade sprue, which is a fantastic sprue, and lots of spare parts that you'll have that you can use for your other vehicles, or even vehicles that you never used it before. The quad las cannon array, these are brilliant. You don't even need to magnetize them. I did wonder how they were going to do them, and they've excelled themselves. Games Workshop have. This is the same kind of makeup as the sponsons on the Sikaran and the Kratos. Works very well. It's just a plug and socket kind of mechanism. You slot them on, and then you turn them, and then they stay. And I don't know how they've done this with the tolerances and things, but they've managed to work it so that you can kind of position them in any kind of way you wish. And obviously the horizontal traverse isn't huge, so I'd probably give it like a 20% traverse. If you're really careful, you can actually blow off, you know, one of your own tracks with your super heated laser beam. You know, it might be a feature if you want to do that. You know, if you're Death Guard, for instance, and you wanted to then walk the rest of the way, you know, there's the option there. You get a couple of these, like you get a couple of these icon accessories and things that you can put on the tank that is specific for the Spartan. So there you go. That's my kind of in-depth, plenty of detail. It's a good looking tank. I really liked it. It was nice to build. I still think that the Kratos and the Leviathan Dreadnought are my favourite builds so far, though. Let's have a look at some of the spare parts. So what I did is I foolhardily put the spare parts of the Spartan in with the Kratos. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but you've got some cannons in there. You've got the rest of the you know, sponson weapons for the Spartan. You will get some Aquilas and Eye of Horus icons. You'll get your Crusade Space Marine. You get your Mark II Crusade Armoured Space Marine right here, which is pretty good. I'm building up a collection of these now. I might even have this one out of the tank on the last Spartan, or on a couple of more of them, I don't know. I'm building 6 legions, so yeah, you got the heavy bolters as well, obviously. So a nice selection of spare parts, you know, from the vehicle upgrade sprue mainly. Like I say, you can have your heavy bolters there, you can have the heavy flamers, and a number of pintle mounted weapons, but these las cannon arrays stay the same. In the Horus Heresy 1.0 you could actually have laser destroyers as the sponson weapons, which reduce the range from 48 inches down to 36 inches, and you can still do that in 2.0. You can just have them as laser destroyers. We'll go through the differences of those rules in a moment, but in all intents and purposes they look like las cannons. They are las cannons. I'm sure your opponent wouldn't have any issue you having them as you proxying them as laser destroyers. So size comparisons then, maybe the moment you've all been waiting for in this review. Let's go big and compare it to a Mastodon to begin with. Now this tank is a 377 pound tank. It's pretty much almost 400 pounds. It is completely in resin, so that's one of the reasons why it is. Whether it comes to plastic, I can't say for certain. I don't think it will. I think it's just too big to come out in plastic. There would be hundreds and hundreds of parts. There would be hundreds and hundreds of parts for this kit if they did do it. Yes, it would be nice to have it in plastic, because this thing weighs quite a large amount. But if they did release it in plastic to make its money up, it would be a minimum of £200, minimum. And we're talking about quite a niche unit here that is just a transport. It's got arguably worse weapons than the Spartan. And the fact that it is a Lord of War choice as opposed to just either a dedicated transport or heavy support choice means that it's going to be even more of a niche unit that people will buy. But that's where it sort of sizes up next to a Mastodon. My initial plan was to have the Mastodon flanked with 2 Spartans. That's the reason why I bought 2 Resin Spartans. However, now that I have 4 Spartans, I think another Mastodon is on the cards, so it won't be long before I get one of those in the next month or 2. And of course I will do a fresh unboxing, because it's been quite a few years since I did an unboxing on one of these, but it's a nice kit to build. I especially like how you know, you can take the parts off of it. The thing is, when you destroy it in game, it stays on battlefield, because it's just that much of a big unit. And I really like the detailed interior, and the doors, which are on pistons, lovely. And you can fit 2 Space Marines side by side, and the whole premise of one of these is you run them in 2 or maybe 3, and they go up in a line, they burn through the fortification, and then they make a nice armoured corridor for Space Marines to just run through, and Dreadnoughts, because you can put Dreadnoughts in there apparently. Not quite sure how that would fit, but yeah. Anyway, it's not a Mastodon review today, it is the Spartan review, as much as I like playing with the Mastodon. What I will do now is just show you a comparison with a Fellblade. So let's just move that over there. So here is a Fellblade next to the Spartan. I'll probably say that the Fellblade is taller because of the big turret on there, but the actual tracks themselves do go higher than the hull of the Fellblade. The Fellblade has, you know, it is a super heavy battle tank. You know, it's got no troop transport whatsoever. It's got a multitude of weapons. It's got the, you know, quad las cannon arrays, much like the Spartan, but it's also, and it has a hull mounted defense weapon such as the heavy bolters. I don't think you can put the twin las cannons on it, but on top of that it has a demolish cannon, which is pretty ridiculous, and it also has its main gun, the Fellblade accelerator auto cannon, which is fantastic. You could put a multi-melter on there, you could put a pintle mounted weapon on there as well, and I'm actually thinking about doing that. I probably would put a pintle mounted heavy bolter on there from the upgrade sprue. That's something that I will add, just to add to the look of it. It just goes to show that the Spartan has the same sponson weapons as a full main super heavy battle tank, but on top of that, it's potentially more dangerous because it can hold those 26 Space Marines or 10 Terminators. You know, you could have, so they fulfill two slightly different roles on the battlefield. Then I want to compare it to the Resin Spartan right here, just to give you an idea. It's pretty much like for like. There is not much in it at all. They're very, very similar. You're not going to tell that much difference other than when you go up close and you feel the weight. Obviously, the assault ramps operate differently, and there is like these extra things on the assault ramp there as detail. If we're looking at the side of them, and the difference on the back as well, you've got like a little skull thing. You haven't got that on the plastic. But yeah, on the battlefield, you're not going to see that much difference between these. Maybe the las cannons might be a bit more wonky, bent. I need to get the head right on them, by the way. But apart from that, they're pretty much the same. A couple more comparisons I'd like to make is with the Kratos, so the new kid on the block, the new heavy battle tank. Just goes to show just how big the Spartan is, even compared to heavy battle tank. Again, they both do different things. You know, the battle tank has its main focus on its damage output, but you know, saying that, the Spartan equipped with 10 lance cannons is still pretty scary. You know, and the fact that it can carry all the and the fact that it can carry the 26 Space Marines too. So that's that comparison next to the Kratos. If you were thinking about picking up a Spartan separately, you probably already got one in your Age of Darkness set. This is a Rhino. So this can carry 12 apparently. So that's where it stands next to a Rhino. Sort of like 3 times bigger or so, isn't it? And then a couple more comparisons I like to make will be with a Leviathan Dreadnought. Here's one I made earlier, and a Contemptor. Got a Mark III Power and Armoured Space Marine, and then a Terminator in Cataphracti Terminator armour, which I would have hoped you'll be mainly transporting in the Spartan. I mean, you know, you can transport your normal regular Space Marines, but you're going to have to use it as a heavy support choice if you do that, whereas Cataphracti and Tartarus get it as a dedicated troop transport, which is something that not all of the special Terminators get, such as the Grave Wardens and Death Shroud, for instance, which is extremely odd considering the Phoenix Guard and Deathwing do. So just bear that in mind if you're thinking about picking up a Spartan for your Legion. Pick up the Liber Astartes or Liber Hereticus books first and look at your Legion and see whether that specific Terminator unit can have one of these Spartans as a dedicated transport, because it just frees up your heavy support choices. It just frees up your heavy support slots if you are able to take it as a dedicated transport. The final comparisons I'd like to make is just with some 40k miniatures. So we've got a standard Space Marine, we've got Sly Marbo, and an Intercessor. Intercessors are not allowed in Land Raiders. They have their own transports. But yeah, that just gives you an idea just how big this Spartan really is. You know, it's a big chunky tank. We've got the Proteus coming and the Proteus Explorator. I'll be getting a few of those, of course. I've given you unboxings and reviews. I'm just hoping both the Spartan and the Proteus are the base plates for, you know, plastic Typhons, plastic Cerberuses, and, you know, plastic Achilles Land Raiders as well. We'll see. Hopefully that is the case. Okay, so this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for the Spartan assault tank. As I've mentioned a number of times in this review, it is a heavy support choice, but for some special Legion specific Terminators, such as, I don't know, the Inner Circle Knight Cenobian for Dark Angels, for instance, a unit of 5 or more may take a Land Raider Spartan as a dedicated transport, so it frees up your heavy support slots. But it is still a 350 point tank base, so bear that in mind. It's going to be 350 points that you could be spending on something else. But if you did want to pick it up as a heavy support choice, that's how much it'll cost you. Its stat line reads, it's a movement of 12 inches, it's ballistic skill of 4, front, side and rear is all 14, 6 hull points and transport capacity of 26. So that's mainly what you're spending the points on, is that armour, you know, and the 6 hull points and the transport capacity. Land Raiders have historically always had armour of 14 all round. That's the main reason why you get them, because they don't have any weaknesses, you know, side or rear like other tanks have, such as, you know, the Sakarans or the Predators. But a new tank on the block that has this armour is the Kratos. For some reason, Games Workshop have decided to give the brand new expensive tank, coincidentally, the same 14 armour all round. Personally, I would not have done that. Yeah, I would have given it 14 on the front, because, you know, it's got lots of tank, because it's got a lot of track protection. However, there are places on that hull where rounds could bounce into or get lodged. However, the side, I'd probably give it a 13, and maybe even 13 on the rear, or even possibly a 12. But that's the way they've gone for that. So back onto the Spartan. It has its Wargear has 2 sponsor-mounted las-cannon arrays and a whole front-mounted twin-linked heavy bolter, which of course can be replaced with a twin-linked heavy flamer for free, or a twin-linked las-cannon for 25 points. So now you're looking at 375 points. It's also got smoke launchers, special rules, Legiones Astartes, assault vehicle, power of the machine spirit. A Legion Land Raider Spartan has 1 access point on each side of the hull and 1 at the front. It may exchange both its sponsor-mounted las-cannon arrays for the following: 2 sponsor-mounted laser destroyers for free. Now let's just talk about the las-cannon arrays and the laser destroyers then. So base the las-cannon array is a 48 inch range, strength 9, AP 2, heavy 2, twin linked and sunder. So that's great, you know, although there are 4 las-cannons technically there, it's getting 2 shots that are twin linked, so that's 4 las-cannon shots, compared to a Gravis las-cannon. One Gravis las-cannon has 2 shots, and then the las-cannon on its own has 1. The laser destroyer, similar to Horus Heresy 1.0, it's got a 36 inch range, so you're reducing that range, which is fine, you know, for an assault tank. But the one thing that's changed is it used to be strength 10 AP1, it's now just strength 9 AP1, and it's ordnance 2, twin linked, exoshock 6+. So if you're going against Mechanicum, it really is a no-brainer to pick up the laser destroyers instead, forcing that exoshock against them. As I've already mentioned, you can swap the whole front-mounted twin-linked heavy bolter for either the heavy flamers for free or the twin-linked las-cannon for 25 points. The Legion Land Raider Spartan may take one of the following: a pintle-mounted twin-linked bolter for 5 points, pintle-mounted combi weapon of any type for 10 points, heavy bolter for 10, heavy flamer for 5, multi-melter for 20, havoc launcher for 15, and it may take any of the following: flare shield for 50 points, 1 hull-mounted hunter killer missile for 5 points, and searchlight for 5 points as well. So if we're saying that my Spartan right here has a flare shield as well, with that pintle-mounted heavy bolter, you're looking at an extra 95 points on top of 350. So that really is a 445 point miniature. That's a huge amount to be paying for this that has 6 hull points. If I was going up against a legion that had, if I was going up against a force that had one of these Spartans with all of those las cannons, I'd be bringing a 10-man las cannon team minimum for the 300 points, or however much they, for the 350 point, for the 300 points, and trying to take it out first turn. But of course, if someone's paying the extra 50 points, which is a huge amount of points for their flare shield, then you're reducing the strength of shooting attacks by the front armor by -1 or -2 if they've got blast. It used to give it an invulnerable save of 4+. Now it just reduces the shooting attacks by the front armor of -1. Now, it's important to say it's just the front armor. So if you know someone's got a flare shield on a tank, try and hit the sides or the rear, even if they're the same armor value. It's important to note that the Kratos can also take a flare shield. So that means that if you're firing las cannons at the front of this thing and it's got the flare shield, they're going to be needing 6s to do anything, which increases the survivability by a fair amount. They're only going to be getting the glancing hits with las cannons, so you're either going to have to pick and it makes them all but immune to missile launchers, except for hitting on the sides or the rear. So I just wanted to pick up on that. So super, why should I pick a Spartan over a normal Land Raider Proteus? Well, the Proteus is soon to be released, but the main reason I would pick the Spartan over a Proteus. Remember, the Proteus can be any of the Mars pattern Land Raiders that you have in your 40k collection. I just want to put that out there too. The main reason why you pick it over a Proteus is the more than double transport capacity. You know, you may not use the full 26 capacity for it, but you know, you can put a full 20-man Space Marine unit in here and a Praetor, apothecaries, you name it. You can put all that in relative safety, and probably one of the best safest vehicles that Space Marines have access to. You're getting that one extra hull point, which isn't the unique selling point, but what you are getting is double the number of shots there with the las cannons, and you can take a flare shield as well. Also adds to the survivability. Everything else you can pick up for a Proteus, but bearing in mind a Proteus base is 220, and its front mounted twin link las cannon upgrade is only 15 points extra instead of 25. If you've only got 5 Terminators instead of the 10, or you've got 10 Space Marines instead of the 20, it might be worth just using the Proteus instead. There's a few Legion specific units that can still take a Proteus as a dedicated transport, and you're saving yourself, you know, half the points cost. And like I say, if you've already got plastic 40k Land Raiders, you can use them as the Proteus as well. So that's all I've wanted to say about the Legion Spartan. What do you guys think? I think it looks fantastic as a model. I'm pleased that they did make this in plastic, not only because it's an iconic vehicle of the Horus Heresy, but not because the resin kit was bad. It was a good resin kit. They refreshed it quite a few years ago, because before the tracks were all separate. It's mainly what it means for future plastic miniatures moving forwards. As I say, you know, we're getting the plastic Proteus and the Proteus Explorator. If this means that we're going to get a Cerberus or a Typhon or even the Achilles Land Raider, then that's what I'm most excited about this. Not the fact that it's a plastic Spartan, but what it means for brand new plastic miniatures, for brand new plastic tanks in the hopefully not too distant future. What do you guys think of the Spartan? Please do put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.